Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're digging into the sources behind one of the biggest pivots in industrial history, Henry Ford's assembly line.
But it's more than just the machine, right?
Oh, absolutely. The real deep dive here is the unbelievable social experiment he had to run just to keep that machine going. We're talking about the famous $5 day.
That's the mission. To really get into that paradox, we're in the early 1900s, and the automobile is, this luxury item.
A toy for the rich, basically.
Exactly. And Ford has this vision to make it for everyone. But our sources show his big idea wasn't some bolt from the blue. It was more about combining existing concepts, which was a massive risk.
He had to change how things were made, which, as we'll see, meant he had to try and change the people who made them.
That's a fascinating story.
Okay, so let's set the stage. What did car manufacturing look like before 1913?
It was a craft. You had teams of highly skilled workers, almost like artisans, who would build a car from the ground up.
So one team would work on one car, piece by piece.
That's right. And that skill, that expertise, was also the biggest bottleneck. Every part might need a little filing, a little custom fitting. It was slow.
And the sources give us a number for that, right? How slow are we talking?
We are talking over 12 hours.
12 hours of skilled labor just to assemble a single chassis.
A full workday and then some. If your whole plan is to sell a car cheap, that math just doesn't work. The labor costs were way too high.
So, enter the revolution. Highland Park plant, Detroit, 1913. And the big inspiration for this famous assembly line, it's not what you'd think.
Not at all. It actually came from Ford observing the continuous flow of work in Chicago's meatpacking plants.
Which is kind of gruesome, but he saw something brilliant in it.
He saw a process,
Yeah.
and he inverted it. Instead of a carcass being taken apart down a line, he thought, why not send a car chassis down a line to be put together?
So the work moves to the worker, not the other way around.
Precisely. At first, they're literally pulling the chassis with a rope. Later, it becomes a chain conveyor. But the principle is the same. You stand still, you do one simple task over and over.
And none of this works without one critical piece of the puzzle.
Interchangeable parts. Absolutely non-negotiable.
Right, because if a worker has to stop and file down a bolt to make it fit, the entire line just grinds to a halt.
The whole system fails, so every part had to be identical. A worker could just reach into a bin, grab any part, and know it would fit perfectly. It's how you move the knowledge from the worker's brain into the process itself.
And the results. I mean, we have to just stop and appreciate the numbers here. They are staggering.
They really are.
That 12-plus hour assembly time.
Yeah.
It dropped to 93 minutes.
93. An hour and a half. It's hard to even comprehend that level of change that fast.
It totally redefined what was possible. And that efficiency, of course, meant the price could drop.
Drastically. A Model T went from around $850, which was a lot for a family back then, down to about $360.
Suddenly, Ford's vision wasn't just a dream. He was actually making the car accessible to millions.
But this is where the story pivots. Because as soon as he solved the mechanical problem,
He ran straight into a massive human one.
the sources are really clear on this. The work was just soul-crushing.
Standing in one spot all day, doing the same tiny motion every few seconds as this line just keeps moving past you.
The monotony, the boredom, the physical strain, it was intense, and workers hated it.
And they showed it by leaving. The result was chaos. By the end of 1913, Ford was looking at a 370% annual labor turnover rate.
Let's just sit with that number for a second. 370%.
It sounds like a typo.
It does. It means for every job on the line, he was hiring and training almost 4 different people a year just to keep it filled.
Which, ironically, completely wipes out the efficiency gains you just made. All that money saved on time is now being spent on constant hiring and training.
The whole model was at risk. The assembly line was a huge success, but the factory floor was a revolving door. It was an operational nightmare that threatened the entire company.
So that's the big question then. If you can't make the work itself any better, how on earth do you get people to stay?
You make them an offer they can't refuse.
You pay them so much money they can't afford to leave.
Exactly.
And that answer comes on January 5, 1914. It is one of the most radical business moves of the century.
He announces he's more than doubling the daily wage, from about $2.34 a day.
To $5 a day.
$5 for an 8-hour shift. It was completely unheard of.
I mean, his rivals must have thought he was insane.
They predicted bankruptcy. They said, you can't double your labor costs and survive, but they just didn't see the strategy behind it.
And the results proved them wrong. Yeah. Immediately. That insane turnover rate, 370% in 1913.
A year later, in 1914, it dropped to just 54%.
And by 1915, it was down to 16%.
He achieved labor stability just overnight. And not only that, the quality of workers shot through the roof.
Of course, because suddenly every skilled mechanic, every disciplined laborer in the country wants to work for Ford.
They flocked to Detroit, the city was transformed, and because he had better, more motivated workers, productivity actually went up.
So the gamble paid off. The sources say his profits doubled within 2 years of starting the $5 day.
Doubled. It was a massive financial win. He basically bought loyalty and consistency, which is exactly what the assembly line demanded.
Okay, but here's the twist. This is the part of the story that just blows my mind. That $5 wage was not guaranteed.
No, it came with some very serious strings attached.
It wasn't a flat rate. It was actually a base wage of $2.30, plus a potential bonus of $2.70.
A profit-sharing bonus. And getting that bonus depended on you passing an inspection.
An inspection? By whom?
By the Ford Sociological Department.
The what?
The Sociological Department? This was basically a team of investigators who would check up on your private life.
Wait, hold on. They would come to your house to make sure you were, what, living right.
That's a good way to put it. They absolutely did home visits. They checked if your house was clean. They checked if you were saving money and not in debt.
You're kidding me.
They made sure you weren't drinking too much alcohol. They even looked into whether you were treating your family well. If you didn't meet their standards of moral, sober, thrifty living, you didn't get the bonus.
That is an unbelievable level of corporate overreach. It's paternalism on a scale I can't even imagine.
It was. But the power dynamic was simple. That $5 wage was a ticket to the middle class. It was life-changing money, so people complied.
So Ford wasn't just paying for 8 hours of labor. He was paying for a specific kind of person, a specific lifestyle that fit his system.
It was social engineering. He was creating the kind of stable, dependable worker that his unstable, chaotic assembly line required.
But if we zoom out from the factory floor, the impact of this decision was felt across the entire country.
This is where you really see Ford's genius. He had this famous quote, something like, "The owner, the employees, and the buying public are all one and the same."
One's own employees ought to be one's own best customers.
There it is. It's such a simple, powerful idea.
By paying his workers enough to actually afford the product they were building, he wasn't just solving his labor problem. He was creating his own customers.
He was manufacturing demand. He showed that high wages weren't just a cost, they were an investment in a consumer market. It helped kickstart the entire American consumer-driven economy.
And he just kept setting these new standards. In 1926, he introduces the 5-day, 40-hour work week.
Right, arguing that people needed leisure time, not just to rest, but also to, use the products they were making, like go for a drive.
It's all part of this incredible system he's building, and the social effects were just as huge and sometimes in really unexpected ways.
Oh, yeah. The sources talk about how the Model T completely changed American dating.
I love this part. Before the car, if you were courting someone, you were stuck in the family parlor, right?
Yeah.
Under mom and dad's watchful eye.
Or maybe a chaperoned walk in the park. But the car meant mobility. And more importantly, it meant privacy.
It literally moved courtship from the front porch to the front seat. Young couples could escape supervision, go wherever they wanted. It was a massive cultural shift toward individual choice.
It really was a vehicle of social change. And you can only have that kind of impact with incredible scale.
Which he had. I mean, for most of its run, the Model T was basically the only car Ford made. And when they finally stopped production on May 26, 1927,
It was the 15 millionth unit.
15 million, just a monumental achievement.
So I think the big takeaway here for you listening is how deeply connected all these things are. The technology of the assembly line isn't just about engineering. It required a social and economic solution that was just as radical.
Ford solves one problem, manufacturing speed, and it immediately creates a new one, worker turnover.
And his solution to that was brilliant, but also, incredibly controlling.
Which leads us to a final thought for you to explore. Despite the high wages, that core problem, the dehumanizing, repetitive nature of the work, it never really went away.
Not at all.
Ford's system, as successful as it was, created a model where efficiency always came first and the worker's well-being was a distant second. And that tension, as our sources suggest, is what ultimately fueled the next great chapter in automotive history. The rise of powerful labor unions fighting for dignity and rights that went beyond just a paycheck.